Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named AvertedVision titled Hurt Me Harder. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen here. Now this is not the first time I've checked out AvertedVision's work, be good to check out more. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. I like the wistful nature of the guitars.
You push me down just to pull me in closer. I feel the hit, then the heat takes over. I should run, but I cling to the pressure. Your cruel touch is a twisted treasure. Every bruise on my pride you branded, and I keep coming back like a habit. Tell myself I can break this pattern, but your fire drags me in and I let it happen. I know the danger, still crave the spark. You draw the line, I walk it in the dark. Hurt me harder, I can take the fall. You make the pain feel like a curtain call. Tear me open, I won't look away. Somehow the bite of your love makes me want to stay.
Doesn't sound like a particularly healthy situation.
Like a blade in my shoulder. Say it's love and the world grows colder. My reflection don't know where I'm standing, but you snap your fingers and I'm landing. Tangled chains look a whole lot like comfort. Your sweet lies echo in the thunder. I should break out, flip this power, but the rush hits deep when you make me cower. I know the danger, still crave the spark. You draw the line, I walk it in the dark. Hurt me harder, I can take the fall. You make the pain feel like a curtain call. Tear me open, I won't look away. Somehow the bite of your love makes me want to stay. 1 in 4 face harm behind closed doors. Nearly half stay silent, fearing no one will believe them. Most return more than once before they escape, if they ever do. And still, here I stand, wanting the thing that breaks me.
Nice bass response to some of those hits. Okay, so that was Hurt Me Harder. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named AvertedVision titled Hurt Me Harder. In this section, I'm going to talk about a few things that I thought were done quite well with this track, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally, my sort of general thoughts from a listener's perspective. So first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think this track is about someone in an abusive relationship. They're just having a terrible time. It's tricky because what they know is the abuse, and they think the abuse is love, if I understand correctly. But they also know how dangerous it is. And they have this kind of explainer in the spoken part in the interlude. I think it was an interesting twist for the person to be well aware of the statistics and then still talk about how they want it. Almost like the want or need for that is more important than their own safety or their own sort of like life. I think that's kind of brutal. It's kind of visceral. And it's not a comfortable subject matter to listen to be honest, but I feel like it's relevant. There are a lot of people who are abused and they shouldn't be, and if we don't speak about it, then people won't know about it. In terms of things that are done well here, I thought that the vocals from the woman's perspective sounded good. They were in tune. We had a bit of vocal fry occasionally, which was nice. There were some interesting harmonies, a lot of power behind some of the belts. I think the spoken part showed a bit more vulnerability. I'm going to get this out of the way now. I think the video was AI generated. It seemed like it was AI generated. And I've had some fairly contentious opinions on AI in the past. I don't like when we discuss heavy subject matter like this from an AI perspective. It just seems like we're kind of making something that you could have just spoken to someone who'd gone through abuse, or you could have just found someone and just taken some photos or videos of them, someone who's overcome or gotten out of that situation. I just feel like watching a computer generated woman go through like alongside the literal prompts, I suppose there's something kind of weird about it to me. I can't put my finger on it. That doesn't mean that it was done poorly. I think the technology's come a long way, but I just think it doesn't hit the same being sung by, potentially being sung by a computer as it does from a human being. It just feels inauthentic. And I know that's not going to be a popular opinion, especially with people who make AI music. But I'm just being honest and transparent as a reviewer. I just would rather hear someone, but then I know as well the premise would be that the person in that situation is currently being abused. So you couldn't get a currently abused person who's in danger to talk about it, and you couldn't feature their face in case the person they were with found out. It's just really difficult subject matter to talk about. So I suppose in a weird way, this is the potentially only practical way we could talk about it, unless it was like past tense with someone who'd been in that position. I just don't know if I like that. That's just more of a subjective thing, I suppose, not an actual technical functional thing. But I thought that nonetheless, the technique on display there, the melodies were compelling. I liked how sometimes we double time things. I liked the vulnerability that was shown in certain parts. I feel like the expression was appropriate for what we were talking about typically. I think, that was good. I thought as well the heaviness of the guitars, bass, drums, and everything like that was great. It worked really well for the subject matter. Especially that kind of big tom filler, the huge hits coming back into that final chorus. The drama and tension there was really effective. I think you could have potentially have had things pause for a moment. It kind of seemed like we had 3 goes of the kind of riff or the loop before we went back into the chorus. You would have gotten maybe more sort of like out of it if you'd allowed things to kind of crescendo on that 4th time. But still, I think maybe it's kind of trying to sort of take us by surprise and kind of like cut back into it in like a disorienting way, because we feel disoriented with the situation we're in. So maybe the music is trying to indicate that. I think the minor leaning of the track in general with the key signatures and the power chords and the guitars is effective. I liked the arpeggiated guitar parts at the start as well. They had a really sort of interesting wistful tone to them that sounded like they were sad. And I liked the switch to the 16th notes kind of sort of parts on the hi-hats, kicks and snares when they came in the second half of the verse. I liked the dynamic range, the difference in the intensities between the 2 hards and splits, and just not taking the listener's attention for granted. I thought that the little lead kind of arpeggios you had in certain parts of the choruses and stuff like that as subleads should I say, were really cool as well. It was nice to explore the upper range alongside the vocalist. And I think as well the synths kind of give it kind of like a synthwave kind of 80s feel or pulse to it that did actually work well alongside the audiovisual experience of the video at that point. It was kind of tense and dramatic and almost sort of theatrical in the way of cinematic, and I think that considering the intensity of what they were describing, it didn't seem conceited or like superfluous. And I also think the diversity of different sort of like drum fills and sort of movements with the kick snares and cymbals, the changes in between the sort of like fills and the main grooves. There was a lot of different parts done on the drum kit to kind of like maintain interest through the song with a consistent 8th note groove throughout, or consistent chord note groove throughout. 1 and 2 and 3. It could be 8s. I think I also just want to have the final note. The thing I appreciate is being the actual poetry itself. I like the lyrics. I don't really talk about the lyrics often. You push me down just to pull me in closer. I feel the hit, then the heat takes over. These are really clever lyrics. I think that they They are eloquent. Tell myself I can brave this pattern, break it, but your fire drags me in, I let it happen. I know the danger, still crave the spark, you draw the line, I walk it in the dark. Yeah, no, it's clever. Like, the wordplay is effective. I think it's all very relevant. The lines sort of transfer neatly between one another. You can clearly tell we're segmenting parts of the song. The lyrics, I think, as well as the general sort of like attention to detail with the vocals, also the expression behind those, and the variety of different sort of guitar and drum parts specifically are really effective within this track. The studio production, again, this is just going to sound like I'm being pedantic. There's this kind of sound, this kind of high-end kind of resonance there, which is kind of like in the 1 to 4 kilohertz range. And it just has kind of like a weird kind of resonance to it that maintains throughout a lot of it. But aside from that, the leveling in general is good. The music surrounds you in the stereo field. There is dynamic range to it. Like from a compositional perspective, like a production, compositional production's pretty tightly glued. Nice and loud without pumping. I've spoken about the actual subject of the song and the way that's been implemented with like the video and stuff like that, and I'm just not entirely, I just personally don't, I just would rather I'd rather have people sing about this kind of heavy stuff. I don't like when AI does it. How do I say this? It seems like we are trying to pull at the heartstrings of someone who is listening to it, but it just feels pre-packaged and fake. And that's unfair, especially if we're writing the lyrics, which is why I spoke about the lyrics. But that's not a mark against the instrumental stuff. I mean, like, if we're being honest, AI music has been charting recently. AI content has been charting. It's, Disney is signed to deal with OpenAI. As a musician, I accept that there's going to be a lot more AI-based stuff in the future. And this isn't me being like, oh, AI bad, because there are some practical, really positive uses for AI. It's the caveat that almost everyone uses when they talk about AI. I just think that there needs to be nuance to it. And again, this will be the final time I say it, because I feel like I said it a few times. I think when it's something that is just such a terrible, brutal thing, especially when there is this conflict, I just don't think it's something that a machine can relate to. So if this was an AI generated track and the subject matter was like this, I first of all completely respect the right of someone to want to do this. But just from an actual review perspective, I just personally didn't enjoy it. And I just would rather AI music, if we're going to make it, is made for fun things. It's made for things that aren't so personal to a lot of people. But I'm going to stop talking about that because it's not particularly, that's very much a personal thing. I just find that if I don't talk about how I feel as well as how I think about it, it doesn't always leave like a holistic kind of comment on it. And I think that there are people who would listen to this not knowing that it was potentially AI generated and would be like, yeah, they'd probably vibe with it. They'd think that there was a person singing it and that they wouldn't have any issues with it. I'm going to leave it there though. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for watching my review of this track from my next named AvertedVision titled Hurt Me Harder. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SPRX. Spiderhands out.